Okay, so today I'm making a video about the number 52 and why the number 52 is important uh, in regards to the law of time, and how it functions in different sorts of ways. Um, the basics of number 52 is that, as most people know, there are 52 weeks in a year, which add up to 364, 52 times 7. In the law of time, they're not called weeks, though. They're called heptads or septads. And as I've previously mentioned before in the past regarding the Zulkin, there are 52 kin per wave spell. Per castle. 4 wave spells per castle. So a castle is essentially, every time I mention the word castle, it refers to a cycle of 52, whether it be 52 days, 52 weeks, 52 years, etc. 52 is the cycle of 52 is a castle. So, and within the Zulkin, as I've mentioned previously before, the Zulkin being 260 days long, 260 divided by 52 is 5, so 5 times 52 is 260. So within one Zulkin spin, one Zulkin cycle, there are 5 castles. Precisely, every Zulkin. And within the 364 day cycle of the Hob, or the Song, as what most people know as the solar annual cycle, there are 7 castles. So there are quite a bit that I could get into regarding, those particular cycles of the 5 castles of the Zulkin and the 7 castles of the Hob, or the Song. I'm going to mention something. I'm going to talk about 2 things today in regards to the number 52. So, just as, an interesting thing, yesterday was actually Kin 52. So today is Kin 53. I'll go ahead and kind of talk about the time stats for today, or the synchronostats, as I call it. So today is Kin 53. Since yesterday was Kin 52, that actually ended the first castle, the Red Castle, the Red Eastern Castle of Turning. So today, beginning on Kin 53 all the way to Kin 104, we enter the White Northern Castle of Crossing. So today begins a brand new 52-day long cycle. So just be aware of that. Kin 53, or let's begin with Kin 52. So Kin 52 is Yellow Cosmic Human. So it is the 13th tone, clearly, as well as the 12th solar seal. So Yellow Cosmic Human has a tone power of 13, but the seal number of 12. So it is essentially the human transcending the current state of just being a human. And as I've mentioned previously before in the past, the connection between 12 and 13 is essentially taking the basic human existence of just typical human activities and a typical human life, and elevating them to the wisdom of 13, which contains within it a lot of powerful mathematical truth. So 13 is like an elevated number, which refers to the Skywalker, which is today's Kin 53, Red Magnetic Skywalker, or as I call it, Red Magnetic Tower. And that begins the Red Skywalker wave spell. So it is the waves. A wave spell is 13 days long, and today begins a significant wave spell because it is the wave spell of the 13th solar seal. So, just as, something to mention. But I've kind of gone over this briefly in a previous video, but I'm going to mention some of the various different cycles of 52, as well as how they synchronize up. And then I'll start to talk about how these various different cycles of 52 are actually construct much larger cycles. So, a destiny castle is what is known as or a destiny castle is what is referred to as, it's the 52 year cycle, and that's what it's called, the destiny castle. Sorry, I've been having a very interesting time lately. So, the destiny castles, we have two primary destiny castles to follow, and that is the ones that code the entire year. So it gives the annual cycle a specific key archetypal energy, but also our own destiny castle, which cycles every 52 years for our life, and they're different depending on whatever kin you are. So the basic universal destiny castle, which applies to what codes the year and what cycle and how it cycles every 52 years. So the way that the universal destiny castle is programmed is that it cycles in a four kin sequence based upon the gateway Earth family. So the gateway Earth kin or seals are the red moon, the white wizard, the blue storm, and the yellow seed. Basically the 4-dot family. So all the seals that have 4 dots in their 1-digit position of their, the dot bar notation, as I've mentioned before. So but the lunar tones, which that cycle through, are all 13. So it begins with the red seal, as always, but it begins with the first lunar tone as well. So it goes, through all 13 lunar tones, coding only these 4 seals. So for instance, the first year of the 52 long destiny castle is red magnetic moon, and that codes the first year in an entire 52 year destiny castle. So what that means is that first 13 years of the 52 year cycle is what is known as the red moon year wave spell cycle. So it's basically 13 year cycles. The first 13 years are coordinated by the archetypal energy of the red moon. The second set of 13 years, which is the one we're in now, is coordinated by the white wizard. The next 13 years is coordinated by the blue storm, and then the last set of 13 years is coordinated by the yellow seed. So for instance, 2 Hobbs ago, we entered the white wizard year wave spell. So that 2 years prior, beginning on July 26th, 2019, was the or at least, hang on, let me double check this real quick. Yeah, 2019 was governed by, or hang on, let me check real quick. So 2020 was lunar storm. Yeah, July 26, 2019 was the year of the white magnetic wizard. And then on July 26, 2020, the white magnetic wizard year was from July 26th, 2019 to July 24th, 2020. And then the year of the blue lunar storm was from July 26th, 2020 to July 24th, 2021. And then from July 26th, 2021, and the cycle that we're in now, up until the end of this moon, since we're in the 13th moon, that's another thing to point out. on July 24th, later this moon, you know, we will end the yellow electric seed year. That's the year that we're in right now, is the year of the yellow electric seed, which is 3 seed. So on July 25th, as I've mentioned previously, it'll be the day at a time, and then on July 26th, this year, at the end of this month, it'll be the year of the red self-existing moon, Kin 69. And then so an entire year's cycle will be coordinated by the red self-existing moon, just like how this whole entire previous year cycle has been coordinated by the electric seed. So basically every 52 years it cycles through these 52 kin, right? And another thing to note is that so the length of 52 years is, including the days out of time, that totals up to 18,980 days. A destiny castle lasts for 20 days short of 19,000 years. Or sorry, 19,000 days, I'm sorry. Or no, I'm sorry. Wait. Yeah, sorry, 19,000 days. So 52 years is like 18,980 days. But what's also interesting is what's also 18,980 days is 73 Zulkin. So what you'll notice here is a map that I've basically mapped out where it goes through each of the years. You know, this is the first 26 years, and then on the back of this page are the second set of 26 years. And I've also did the equation of figuring out the Zulkins and how they overlap these years, okay? And what I've noticed is that there's precise symmetry. So for every 52 Hob, or every 52 years, every 52 songs, there are 73 Zulkins, exactly. So every time 73 Zulkins spin around, 52 years will spin exactly around, and then when that 52 years and 73 Zulkins are complete, they'll begin again on the exact day that they began on, 18,980 days ago. And this is where I get into how, even though these Hobs are based upon the 28-day moons of the lunation cycle, because the lunation cycle is as well as lining up the full moons and the new moons with the lunation cycle, since as the 52-year cycle goes on, it falls slightly out of synchronization with it, and then will line back up and then go the other way to where they end up late. So they're not exactly falling on the first, the 14th/15th day of the moon and then resetting on the 28th or the 1st, It'll constantly fall out of synchronization just slightly and line back up, just like how the phi ratio is. So so the fact that the new moons and the full moons don't exactly fall upon the specific days of the 28-day moon is simply because it's based upon perfection cycles. So it'll slightly fall out of synchronization and then line back up and then go the other way and line back up and go the other way, just so you're aware. So that's the Destiny Castle. Now, we also have our own Destiny Castle that coordinates our own 52-year cycle, but it begins on each year of your life is coded by a specific kin. And so when you're 0 until you turn 1, that first year, until you turn 1 year old, is governed by your kin. And then when you turn 1, it goes to the next lunar tone, utilizing all 13 lunar tones, but it only cycles through the 4 kin of your Earth family. Okay? So, for instance, I'm part of the Cardinal Earth family, so my 4-year cycle goes in begins on Yellow Warrior, and then it goes Red Dragon, White World Bridger, Blue Monkey, and then back to Yellow Warrior, because I'm part of the 1 dot Cardinal family. So but it goes through all 13 lunar tones. So it'll take 52 years for me to come back around to being a yellow overtone warrior year, because that's my kin. So every year of our life has a governed energy, and it's always key to figure out the kin number of whatever year you're in, as well as figuring out the kin number for the universal destiny castle, and then comparing them, adding them up, see what kin that they sum to, or subtracting them and see what the difference is, etc. And again, as I've mentioned previously before, if you ever want to find the kin equivalent to any number higher than 260, just subtract multiples of 260 until you get to a number between 1 and 260. So that is the Destiny Castle. That's the Universal Destiny Castle, which applies to all of us, as well as cosmic time in general, as well as our own personal Destiny Castle, which only applies to us. And both of them are always working in our life to give each one of us different energies in different years of our life. Now, another thing to note is that within the Hob, or the song, the 365, 364, there are 52 heptads, 52 7-day cycles. So that's another thing to note. For every 28-day moon, there are 4 heptads, or 4 weeks. Another 52 cycle are the chromatics of the Zulkin. A chromatic, as I've mentioned before, is a 5-day sequence, and it's governed by its own mathematical principles that also resonate with various other different mathematical sequences, like the G breath, as well as the respiratory sequence in general. I'm probably going to vlog later on tonight, so I'm going to talk about various different things. But also, since there are 52 5-day cycles in the Zulkin, so basically the first 5 kin are 1 chromatic, 6 to 10, that's the second, 11 to 15, that's the third chromatic. So there's also 52 5-day cycles in the Zulkin. There are 73 5-day cycles in the Hob, but we're not dealing with the number 73. But just remember how 73 and 52 are connected through the Destiny Castle and the 73 Zulkins. Of the Galactic Activation Portal kin, these green ones here, the ones that are highlighted in green, that form this double helix type shape, there are 52. You have 26 on this side and 26 on that side. So there are also 52 Galactic Activation Portal kin. And every single 52-day cycle of the castle is its own cycle. So if you line up, like if you were to write a list from 1 to 52 and have 5 sets of them, right, and then write out the kin numbers from the 1st to the 52nd and line them up, you'll notice that every placement on that 52 cycle has 5 kin that are lined up, right, for each of the castles. So each one of those kin and those castles synchronize with each other. So for instance, of the first 52-day cycle of the first castle of the Zulkin, it begins with kin 1. And since it ends on 52, then kin 53 starts the second castle. So kin 1 and kin 53 are basically both of the first kin of the red wave spells for each castle, are all of the first kin of each of the red wave spells, all 5 of them, are all in synchronization with each other. Basically, the things that happen on kin 1 are deeply connected to kin 53, as well as kin 105, as well as kin 157, as well as kin 209. They're all in synchronization with each other, and that's the main point I'm going to get to next. But the last cycle of 52 that I'll mention, let me bring up my list here. Well, there's two more. So, on Pakal Votan's sarcophagus lid are 13 special kin. Now, we don't know the exact reason as to why Pakal Votan highlighted these special kin, but what they've been termed is the clear kin. It's sort of like what I've deemed them to, just by observing them when they roll around on the Zulkin, is they are energy that when those kin roll around, it sort of clears out a lot of the emotional stagnation. So to me, that's what the clear kin are, although we're not entirely sure as to the more significance of these 13 special kin. But one thing I will mention are Zulkin squads. So every kin has a Zulkin squad. So basically what that means is every kin belongs to a squad, which is what I call it, but it's a play on the word quad, right? But since they belong together, it's like a squad, like they're a group, And since we're dealing with people, squad. So the way to determine a Zulkin squad is, so for instance, of the first kin, its squad is basically geometrically opposite to its position on the Zulkin. So for instance, kin 1 is this high northwest corner here. Down here is Yellow Resonant Sun, kin 20. It is part of its Zulkin squad. Kin 241, Red Resonant Dragon, and Yellow Cosmic Sun, kin 260. So kins 1, 20, 241, and 260 are all part of a Zulkin squad because they're all geometrically opposed on the Zulkin in their positions, and they make this quad, they make this square. And one thing you'll note is that for every quad, the sum of their lunar tones will always sum to 28. That's one thing to note. No matter where you look for one, as long as you're doing it precisely, what you'll notice is that their lunar tones will always sum to 28. Another interesting thing is that their solar seals will always sum to 42. So that's another interesting thing. For the center column, they do it differently, because since we're dealing with an odd number here, there's no way to find, a quad. So the way that it works is that it's whatever kin you're looking at, it's occult. So for instance, the very two center ones here, you have Blue Magnetic Monkey and White Cosmic Wolf, or Blue Magnetic Mage, kin 131, and kin 130, White Cosmic Wolf. These two are part of a quad, but also they're antipodes. So that means Yellow Planetary Sun, kin 140, and Red's Hermetic or Self-Existing Dragon, kin 121. So it's basically a kin, it's occult, and they're antipodes. So, but one thing you'll notice is that every Zulkin squad is made up, every other one except for all the 20 kin of that column are made up of two pairs of perfect occults. So for instance, kin 1 and kin 260 are occult partners, and kin 241 and kin 20 are occult partners. So, so that is the Zulkin squad. So of the 13 clear kin, they belong to each of the 13 clear kin are part of a Zulkin squad. So if you add them all up, you get 52 clear kin in total, based upon the main 13 and the other 39 that are part of all their quads. So there are 52 clear kin, 52 gap kin, 52 Zulkin chromatics, 52 weeks of Ahab, 52 years in the Universal Destiny Castle as well as the Personal Destiny Castle. And the last one is a 52 alphabet sequence. So the way that the alphabet sequence runs is that for every chromatic in the Zulkin, you can actually, this is the last thing I'll mention. So for every chromatic, as well as every week in the heptad, or in the Hob, all the 52 heptads, the alphabet sequence is based upon the English, and I'll have to talk about the English alphabet later on and its mathematical significance, but I'm not going to get into that right now. Basically what it does is it runs from A to Z and then backwards, so Z back to A. So that's the 52 alphabet sequence, or the alphabet castle, if you will. So the first, just for every sequence of 52, and this also applies to every mathematical matrix that is based upon a set of an even number. So for instance, a cycle of 4, a cycle of 6, 8, 10, 12, 24, you know, all of these cycles, the way that they work is that the first half, right, is always the active principle. It's when energy is becoming activated, and that's whenever that's the time for willpower and putting your force or your will out there into the world. Whereas the second half, doesn't matter the size of the cycle, is more of a passive cycle. So it's more of a time to withdraw back into yourself. Don't put your active will out into the world so much, and that's when it becomes where things draw themselves unto you. So that's another thing to note. So now that I've mentioned all the various different cycles of 52, and there are plenty more, there are so many more that I could get into that I just don't know about yet, and I imagine in the next few years there'll be another handful of various 52 cycles, or 52 long cycles. So I've mentioned this before, I've kind of showed the graphics of this, but basically if you were to like get a notebook and you were to write down, like for instance the way I've done it here is I've wrote down 1 to 13, 14 to 26, and then on the other side of the page I put 27 to 39 and then 40 to 52. So if you were to write out that number list, and you were to write, for instance, so this is the first Universal Destiny Castle year. So the first one is Kin 209, right? Or no, I'm sorry, that's all the kin in the green castle. I'm sorry. Yeah, here's the Destiny Castle. I'm sorry. So the first one belongs to Red Magnetic Moon, and then White Lunar Wizard, Blue Electric Storm, Yellow Self-Existing Seed, Red Overtone Moon, etc. So if you were to write down all 52 of the Destiny Castle years, and then next to it, just kind of keep it simple, you know, just put the kin number and then put above it Destiny Castle, and then next to it, right up here, Zulkin chromatics, and then write out the list of all 52 of the Zulkin chromatics, and then this right here is the kin, all 52 kin in the green castle, and then these are the other auxiliary castles, the red, white, blue, and yellow. So these are writing all of the kin of each of the 52 castles in order. These are the 52 gaps, etc., etc. And as I've mentioned in that previous video where I brought this up, this year has been the year of the Yellow Electric Seed, which is Kin 224, right? And that is the 16th year. Out of all 52 years, it is number 16 in order. And the 16th gap is Kin 96, which is Yellow Overtone Warrior, and that's me. So this year, the 16th year of all 52, I've synchronized and figured out that I'm the 16th gap, and that I synchronized with this year, and this year I figured it out. So that's just like one of the things that will pop up to you by observing these things. So basically, yeah, if you were to make lists from 1 to 52 of all the different 52 cycles in order and then line them up, what you'll notice is that each number from 1 to 52 will have an exact alignment of various different energies. So, for instance, when we're in the 24th heptad of the year, right? Let's say we're in the 4th week of the 6th moon, right? The 24th week. That will, during that week's time, the energies of, for instance, Kin 232 of the Green Castle will be prominent. So all the energies, all the Kinergy of 232 will be prominent. The Gap Kin 113 will be prominent. So in terms of like double synchronicity, think in terms of Kin 113. And then, you know, and then the other 4 castles. I'm not sure if I mentioned Kin 232 was a part of the Green Castle, but yeah, that's part of the Green Castle. But basically all 5 kin that align with that particular number in the sequence that belong to each of the castles, they will all synchronize up with that, as well as Kins 116 to 120 in the chromatic sequence. So basically it gives you to put it in summation, basically at any given point in time, it is synchronizing with various other points in time. So let's say that something amazing happened on a specific kin. Well, you'll know that in a few weeks from now, that kin and the miracle or the amazing thing that happened on that kin will somehow be connected to, say, this future heptad. Or maybe it'll be in a few moons from now. But knowing how these things all synchronize up, you'll notice that, like, the things that are occurring now in this present moment is synchronized up with other points in time. And the content of what's occurring now is significant to not only those other points in time, say if it's connected to some time in the past, those days back then had things that were connected with right now, or let's say it's something that's going to happen in the future. Things that are happening today are connected to those future days. That's my main point. You know what I'm saying? It's not that complicated, because once you write out the list of the synchronization points, it's real simple. Because then at that point, you can just reflect upon the current point in time. So that's just my main point, is that for every cycle of 52, it's synchronized up with the other cycles of 52. You know what I'm saying? So, and there are a few more nuanced details that I won't get into right now, but the main thing, and I guess this is for people who are a little bit more serious about this, they want to get a little bit more complex intelligence here. So if everything that I've said so far is still kind of confusing, go back and watch my previous videos. It'll help to clarify. The mathematics that are associated with the law of time isn't that complex. It's actually really simple, but it does require a certain amount of understanding in the beginning to become more fluent in the temporal matrices. So once you get it down, it's real simple. But in the beginning, I can understand why it would be confusing. So this next part that I'm about to get into, before I make a vlog, this will be a more complex sort of map. But not by much, but you'll understand what I'm saying. So, as I've mentioned before in the past, for every 28-day moon cycle, days 7, so for the 7th day of every moon, so let me pull up a moon map here. I'll pull up the one for the 13th moon that we're in right now. So, and I know I don't have graphics and everything, but so this is the 28-day moon of the cosmic moon, the 13th moon that we're in right now. So this is the first day, this is the first heptad of 7 days, this is the second, third, and fourth heptads. These are the kin of the Zulkin that aligns with these particular days. So On the 7th day of every moon, so this far corner here, to the 22nd of every moon, this corner down here, so basically from here, this whole section in the middle, and this one. So it makes this geometric S-type shape. You see what I'm saying? That 16-day cycle from the 7th to the 22nd, and as I mentioned before, 22 divided by 7 is pi, because this has a lot to do with the development of consciousness, specifically telepathy and the transference of electromagnetic energy from one being to another. Telepathy being emotions from, or energy up from far away. This 16-day cycle is the warrior's cube journey, right? It's a significant cycle of practicing and understanding telepathy, because that's when the telepathy really starts becoming really strong. This first 6-day cycle here, up here, days 1 to 6, as well as days 23 to 28, those 12 days, because it's 2 sets of 6, right? Those 12 days are referred to major shifts within the planet, so, or the matrix, if you will. And that includes the skies, sun and moon, and the earth herself. So we have 2 sets of cycles within every 28-day moon, right? We have days 1 to 6 and 23 to 28. 2 sets of 6, which belong to 112 cycle. They're just separated, by this gap of 16 days. And so you have the 16-day cycle and the 12-day cycle. And 16 and 12 will be very important when it comes to the 52. So if you were to look at all 13 moons, right? All 13 moons, how many cube journey days are there in total? Since a cube journey day, or a cube cycle as I call it, is 16 days long, since a cube cycle is 16 days long and there are 13 of them for each of the 13 moons, there are 208 in total, because 13 times 16 is 208. So out of the 364 13 28-day moon cycle, there are 208 of those days which correspond to the telepathy days, the cube cycle days. Whereas the remainder, which is 156, because 12 times 13 is 156, 156 or matrix cycles. So you have, for every moon, there are 12 days which belongs to the matrix cycles, and then 16 for each moon that correspond to the cube cycles. So there are 156 matrix days in the year, and there are 208 cube days of a year. So add 208 and 156 and you get 364. Well, if one thing you'll notice is that not only is 364 divisible by 52, which gives you 7, right? 7 times 52 is 364, as we know, 52 weeks in a year. But 156 and 208 are also perfect multiples of 52. So 52 times 3 is 52 times 3 is 156, and 52 times 4 is 208. Sorry, I was thinking about something. So in terms of the 156 matrix day cycles, within 156 there can be 3 perfect 52s. So what that means is that so you have 52, 104, and 156. So within those 156 days, you can repeat cycles of 52 3 full times precisely. So what that means is that, and I'll just be simple about this. So on the first matrix day, aligns with all of these lists of 1, right? And then it goes through all 52, right? And then what it does is on the 53rd of the 156 matrix cycle days, it begins again, and it goes from 53 to 104, and then from 105 to 156. So these cycles repeat. This full 52 sequence with all these synchronized maps cycle around 3 times every for all 13 of the matrix cycles, which are comprised of 12 days a moon. 12 times 13 is 156. So we cycle through all of these 52 cycles for every matrix day, whether it's days 1 to 6 on a moon or 23 to 28. They're constantly cycling through. But also the 208 cycle does it 4 times. And because 3 and 4, 3 refers to the matrix, not because it's referring to the external world, because remember back in Freemasonry, 3 represents heaven and 4 represents earth, right? Form, materiality, whereas 3 represents non-materiality. What I mean by matrix cycle, and this is what I was thinking about because I never considered this until now, because the 156 is 3 cycles of 52 and 208 is 4 cycles of 52, basically the 52 times 7 broken up into 2 sections, 3 and 4. The matrix cycles not really refer to the changes that are happening in the field so much, but heaven in and of itself, which, as we know, heaven and earth are ultimately one thing, right? But what that means is just the divine concept. Heaven was always represented by 3 because heaven is the mind of God, right? More so because it is the universe itself. Whereas 4 represents earth, which is form. That represents us walking around in human body form, consciousness of God fragmented and split up into all these individualistic, fractals. We're walking around in material form, communicating with the non-material. And the matrix, the earth, the sky, sun and moon, they're all made up of this universal mind. So just understanding that you can think of them as the matrix cycle as the heavenly matrix cycle, and you can also think of the cube cycle as the earthly cube cycle. So just remember that 3 and 4 also go back to the circle and the square, the compass and the square, the dichotomy between heaven and earth. So basically, I hope you understand what I'm saying. So, like, for instance, let's look at the cube cycles. So, let me pull up my maps here. So, again, me reiterating the point just in case this is going over people's heads and they don't completely understand what I mean. So, every moon from days 7 to 22 is a 16-day cycle, which is known as the cube cycle, the cube journey. And there are 13 of them for every moon. So every time we enter a new moon, and then we come to days 7 and then up until 22 is a 16-day cycle. And this happens 13 times, which gives us a total of 208 cube days. So basically, on the first moon, the magnetic moon, on day 7, this begins the first cube cycle. So what that does is it begins the first cycle of 1 to 52. Okay? Sorry, I don't know if I'm looking at the right position where the camera is, but that begins the first cycle of 52, right? And so what that does is it not only has a kin that corresponds with that particular day, which it basically goes through all of the lunar tones, but instead of all 20 solar seals, it just goes from dragon to warrior, because this is a warrior cycle. So not only does it have a specific kin that lines up with every day and every cube cycle and every moon, but it also begins, for instance, think of the gaps, right? The 52 gaps. So for the first day of the first cube cycle of the first moon is not only that would belong to the first gap, which is kin 1, red magnetic dragon. So, but the last thing that I want to mention, and I'll talk about the cube cycle more so than the matrix cycle. I'll have to make individual videos talking about just these two alone, because there's a lot of, you know, describing that I'd have to do. Not to say they're complicated and difficult to understand, but there's just a lot of explaining. So in terms of the fact that within 13 moons and each one having 16 days cycles, therefore totaling 208, thinking of 208 days, how can you cycle through 52? Well, there are 3 different ways for the 208 cube days. So the 3 different ways that the 52 gaps, just for an example, can cycle through is that for every 4 days in a row belongs to one galactic activation portal kin. So the first 4 days of all the 208 cube cycle days, they all belong to kin 1, the first gap. Then the next 4 belong to kin 20, the second gap. And then the third set of 4 belong to kin 22, the third gap. And then the last set of 4 of that particular cube cycle of the first moon belongs to kin 39, cosmic storm. So not only are they going in sets of 4 at a time, but they're also going in pairs. So for instance, going back to the first day of the first cube cycle of the first moon, not only is it one of 4 days that belongs to the red magnetic dragon, but there are 2 days that also belong to red magnetic dragon, right? And so since if you multiply 2 by 52, basically making little pairs, what that gives you is 104 days. Well, that's only half of 208. So what do you do then? Well, you do the same thing, but in reverse, right? So at the very center of it, if you will, in the resonant moon, there's a pair of yellow cosmic sun, day pairs, and then you reverse the process, so there would be 2 more yellow cosmic sun, and then you just go in reverse. So that very center belongs to 4 days of the cosmic sun, because it goes all the way to the end of the 52 gaps and then starts at the last gap and goes backwards. And then the last way that you can code the 52 cycles is to just go 1 to 52 4 times. So for instance, the first cube day of all 208, the 7th day of the red magnetic, or of the magnetic moon, sorry, of the quad cycles, so 4 days belonging to 1, that would the 7th day, the first cube cycle day, would belong to the red magnetic dragon. Of the doubles, it would also belong to red magnetic dragon, and then the singles would belong to red magnetic dragon. So that very first cube cycle day synchronizes a triplet power of red magnetic dragon. Now let's move on to the second cube cycle day of all 208, right? That's the 8th day of the magnetic moon. That would be the 2nd day of the quadtuplet or whatever of the red magnetic dragon quad, right? Because 4 days of red magnetic dragon. That would be the 2nd. Of the doubles, it would be the 2nd of that double of red magnetic dragon. But of the singles, it would go on to the next gap, which is kin 20. So we go to the 3rd, which is the 9th day of the magnetic moon, the 3rd of all the cube days. Then that would belong to the 3rd of the red magnetic dragon quad. It would now be done with this first double, so it would move on to the next double, which is kin 20, yellow resonant sun. And then the singles would be on the 3rd gap already, and that's kin 22. And then the 4th would be the last of that, or the 10th day of the magnetic moon. The 4th day of all 208 cube cycles would be that last red dragon quad, but it would be on the 2nd of the 2nd double. So these two days 7 and 8 of the magnetic moon would be red dragon. The days 9 and 10 of the magnetic moon would be resonant sun. You see what I'm saying? And then it would be for the singles, it would be cosmic storm. So every single day, it's giving these these codes for the specific energy. And so what this means is, since we're referring to the cube cycle of practicing our awareness of telepathy and how energy transfers from us to other beings, we can understand that on the first of all the cube cycle days, the first of 208, we know that it's always going to be a triplet red magnetic dragon day, right? Because of how the maps of the 52, and that's just of the galactic activation portals. There's a whole nother matrix for understanding the clear energy. So if you're curious about how emotions will be related, check out, build a map of the same thing but with the clear kin. And then you can make another map of the heptads, and then you can make another map of the chromatics. And you can make another map of the destiny castles, another map of the green castle kin. There's so many ways that this can be. Like, you can figure out, like, and to understand the purpose of a cycle is to help you siphon through and be like, okay, I want to know about synchronicity today. Well, check out the galactic activation portals, especially when it comes to whatchamacallit, double synchronicity. If you want to understand, you can also use the green castle kin for this, but that has more to do when it comes to well, I'm not entirely sure. All I know is that green energy is the most synchronistic. So I'm going to have to really break down the differences and meditate upon the differences of the 52 kin of the green castle compared to the 52 galactic activation portals. But yeah, my point is that when it comes, and this is the point I've been mentioning a lot, in my videos, is that the various different maps for the law of time are infinite. And one of these days, I'm going to have a website which has all of these maps constructed, so you can determine, various different telepathic energies in terms of a telepathy cycle. You can understand it in terms of emotional or engram clearing cycles. You can understand it in terms of synchronicity cycles and various different ways to connect other points in time to whatever point it is. One of these days I'm going to have graphics and lists and cohesive packages to help you understand this. This last portion of the video is really just for people who already know all the basics of the law of time and wanted to get into something a little bit more detailed. But trust me, okay, so for instance, we are in we're in the 13th moon, and this is actually really interesting. So not only are we in the 13th cosmic moon, which is the turtle moon, the Mayans chose the tortoise because on the back of a tortoise's shell there are 13 sections, as well as the whole concept of the cosmos being, a giant turtle flying around in space with the earth on its back. That's where the Pokemon Torterra came from, the inspiration for Torterra. And that's where the phrase, it's turtles all the way down, because there was this professor, I remember hearing this from Marty Leeds, he was talking about this professor where he described the mythology of the cosmos being a turtle and the earth being on the turtle's back, and then a student asked, well, what's beyond that? And then the professor goes, if I'm telling the story correctly, he goes, oh, it's turtles all the way down. And that's just a hilarious image, you know what I mean? Especially funny way to put it. So we're in the 13th moon, right? 13th cosmic turtle moon. And not only that, we are here on the 14th day of the cosmic moon. So the cube cycle, for instance, began on the 7th. So we are in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We are in the 8th portion of the cube cycle for this month. And since there are 16, today is exactly the halfway point, right? Well, 8 and 9 would be the halfway point, but this is the first half of the middle, all right? So, of the 16 days of the cube cycle, which I guess I'm going to have to make a whole video on the cube cycle, just to kind of get these details out. Basically, for every cube cycle, they go through the seals from the 7th, which is the first day of the 16th cycle, all the way up to Yellow Warrior, which is the 22nd. This connects back to the Major Arcana. This connects to those 208 kin, you know, basically all the seals from 1 to 16 with all 13 lunar tones combined, so 208 kin, as well as those maps that I just mentioned. So, we are in the 8th day of the cube cycle of the last moon. So, not only does that resonate with the yellow star, the 8th seal, but that puts us, for the Gapkins sequence, we are in, so of the quadtuplets, we are in the 4th day of the 239. So that means we are in the ripening, or the completion of the 239 quadtuplet, which is Blue Overtone Storm. So it's more of like, Blue Overtone Storm is like the details of who you want to be, as well as the details of who you don't want to be, what you want to get rid of and clear away. In the doublet strand of the gaps, we are in the 2nd position of kin 43, and that's Blue Self-Existing Night. So it's like, again, the form of your specific intuition and imagination and power of the subconscious. And then of the singles, we are in kin 64, the 4th set of all the singles of kin 64, and that's Crystal Seed, which is a cooperation of focus, attention, storytelling, our life's memories, etc. Basically seeds of intelligence, and crystal has to do with cooperation. So just by like understanding the language of the seals and the tones and the kin and all, and basically well, I guess I'll save this for the next vlog, but what I will say is that it's not so much about understanding the archetypes that the Mayans chose. It's about understanding the language of each number. And when you understand number as a language, you can get to the point where you can be like, okay, we're in the Blue Overtone Storm gap quadtuplet of the, the cubes, which I call all 208 the Tesseract matrix, right? Because it's like super cube, it's all the cubes combined. It's all 13 cubes conglomerated, right? But we're also in the doublet of the 2nd half of the doubles, and we're in the 2nd portion of kin 43 on the 2nd half of the doubles, of all the doubles, and then we're in the 4th single set, kin 64. Because when it comes to, again, even numbers of the singles, right, for the first 52 cube cycle days, it goes through all 52 gaps in a row. And then the 2nd set of 52 goes through them again, but backwards. The 3rd will go forward again, and the 4th would go in reverse again. So, perfect mirror symmetry for all of these various different cycles. You really just have to see it to believe it, and understand that the more fluent you become in reading how the numbers are interrelating and stuff, your understanding of telepathy will only increase and synchronize even further. And when you get to a point where you can meditate on these things, the power behind it is just something you have to sense within yourself, right? So, and what it ultimately means to you, because every single human contains innumerable mathematics within their own person, right? That everybody's life and awareness of these things is going to be drastically different. There's a lot of aspects that can unify us, but there's also a lot of aspects that make us worlds apart different, okay? So I'm going to make another vlog. Sorry, this wasn't a vlog. This is about the number 52 and all the various different cycles of 52. But I'm going to make a vlog after this and just kind of chat about whatever's on my mind. So yeah, I hope you've learned a little bit more about the number 52 and how important and significant it is. You know what I mean? So it's like I kind of think like, you know, because there's 52 cards in a deck of cards, but there's always 2 jokers. It's like I kind of think about today, Ken 53 and Ken 54, those 2 jokers. You know what I mean? I don't know, but we'll see. Y'all have a great time wherever you're at, whatever you're doing. Eventually I will make better videos with graphics, visual graphics with information, pictures, and, you know, little animations and lists and maps, and I'll have a website eventually, and all of this stuff will be way easier to understand. So y'all have a great time wherever you're at and whatever you're doing.